You heard it here first. Jonathan Watkins' feet are Ultron.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, your weekly look at all things CinemaSins, TV sins, and commercial sins. I'm your host, Aaron, but not that Aaron, of course. And this week, I'm joined by CinemaSins staff member Ian Whittington.
Hello.
Ian, how was your holiday?
It wasn't a holiday. I was working.
Oh,
because I'm in a different location.
Well, I was going to ask, like, I know that Thanksgiving in the way we celebrate it is not celebrated there. So, like, but I don't know. You live in America like half the year now. Like,
oh, I thought you were just referring to my entire visit to America. Just like,
no,
how was your vacation, Ian?
Thanksgiving.
Taking 3 months off.
I guess that's also the weird, like, we call holiday vacation. We call holidays.
Yeah, that is weird, actually. Well, no, we don't use the word vacation at all. Just holiday.
Like, do you still call, like, I was going to say 4th of July, but that's not.
That one I can confirm. We do not call a holiday. We only acknowledge it as a date.
Like Christmas. I was trying to think of one that, like, I was like, only thing that was coming to mind was that. But I mean, I think you guys have a version of Labor Day and Memorial Day. And all that
if
stuff.
You say the holidays, then that's usually Christmas. But we have bank holidays. Because those poor banks, they work so hard, they need some time off. But that happens, I think we have 6 of them a year or something, and they'll be like over a weekend. So you'll get the Friday and the Monday off, and that's a bank holiday weekend. Some of them get named, like there's May Day and Whitsun, but I don't know what Whitsun is referring to, but there's 2 in May.
It's your Twitter handle.
Oh, no, it is. I should know that. Close. And then the other ones, I'm sure they have names, but I don't know what they're celebrating. But there's one around Halloween as well. And they probably were named something really horrible, like celebrating the conquering of a colony or something. And then we just brushed that under the carpet and went, no, it's just August.
All right, so those are bank holidays, what we would call holidays.
Yeah, holiday weekends, yeah.
I mean, we also like call Valentine's Day a holiday, but we don't get off work for that. So
no,
yeah.
Some people do get off at work for that, though. See, because anyway, but yeah, this Thanksgiving holiday was an interesting one because I managed to usurp 2 Americans out of the country and bring them to England. So Danae and one of her friends came to visit. The same that I left, they came with me for 3 weeks, and we did a bit of adventuring. And yeah, they actually had Thanksgiving outside of their country. And somebody said Happy Thanksgiving to them. One person heard the accent and said Happy Thanksgiving. And they were very proud of themselves.
That's a like charming story. That could have gone a million different ways, but that's nice.
It could have done, yes.
I just thought everybody outside of America hated us. And no. They do, but...
I mean, not in person. It's different to hate somebody in person. Especially English, like we're way more polite. We're just like, oh, I will dislike you from afar, but then be very nice and offer you tea in person.
That's fun. Yeah, no, I was just talking with one of our Civ Pop writers, and like he's in the UK, and he's like, hey, like, Happy Thanksgiving to all you guys in the US that celebrate. I was like, oh wait, they don't, do they? Like, I was like, so do you do anything? Like, or
nope.
Anyway?
No, we just have Christmas. That's enough. Like, as soon as Halloween stops, it's all Christmas.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
On that note, let's dive into the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
So we're doing this a little differently this week because it's 2 weeks of content because the episode didn't drop last week because holiday. So or bank holiday, wherever you're listening from.
Yes, but it wasn't.
All the like recording and prep and editing and all that stuff gets done like before it gets done before Thursday. It gets done even before Wednesday because that's when it goes live on Patreon. So it was one of those where it's like I probably could have swapped the 2 weeks, but it's like, but then I would have been doing prep on Thanksgiving.
No, you don't want to do that.
No. So that's why it's like weird. There was an episode that came out on Thanksgiving, but not the week after. So that's how that works. So anyway, 2 weeks later, happy Thanksgiving, by the way, to all those that celebrated.
Boo.
And happy Thursday to all those that didn't.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about the 2 weeks of content, but we'll just be skipping the sins that you liked, and we'll only be talking about the behind the sins content, at least in theory. So let's give it a shot. We'll see how this goes. We'll kick things off with Monday's video, House of the Dragon, The Princess and the Queen. This is season 1, episode 6. Daniel and Danae are writing on this. Ian, now that House of the Dragon has finished up, what are your general thoughts?
So, Rick and Morty, I'm really glad that's getting season 7 through 10, and that's going to give us lots more material to sin and talk about and have fun with. Yeah, no, House of the Dragon was not for me.
Mm.
And I don't know if I was still carrying over some trauma from sinning season 8 of Game of Thrones, because we got through season 8 of Game of Thrones like back to back. There was a stretch there for like 2 months. All we were writing was Game of Thrones, and all we were talking about was Game of Thrones. And it's not a great season of TV. And I came into like episode 1 of House of the Dragon, and I'm like, this is great. This is really good. And that is the last time those words ever left my mouth.
Mm.
Like, the finale's pretty good. Like, the stuff with Viserys decomposing and him rising to the occasion and then immediately dying, that was fun. Paddy Considine is fantastic. Hightower is fantastic. All of the actors are great, but man, they just made some crazy decisions with the time jumps, and I just couldn't get invested in any characters until it was far too late and we were all done. And it just kind of seemed to take all of the stuff people think they liked about Game of Thrones and then shoved it all together into one season of.
So I have a question for you. You're gonna be obligated to watch season 2 for your job,
of course.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I would be watching it anyway, which is such a bizarre thing to say.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. If you didn't have to watch it, would you still?
Yeah, I would. And I think a decade of pretty solid Game of Thrones has brought them enough goodwill from me that I'll continue to watch. And I didn't hate House of the Dragon. It just bored the what's-its off of me. Like, it somehow tried to do too much and did too little at exactly the same time. But I'm still here for it. It's still beautiful. It still has the chance to impress me. It's like The Walking Dead for me. I switched off The Walking Dead at season 6, and yet at season 11, I'm still watching it. And for like 4 years, I was hate watching it. It's only season 11 that I've enjoyed again. Shows will buy a lot of goodwill.
That's fair. Well, I was just curious, like, I like the show. I think I like it a little bit more as we get distance, but I think it's because, like, I'm not watching it every week, so I'm not watching an hour's worth of content that really didn't need to be an hour each week. So, but I think I've always, like, as soon as it ended, I realized this isn't a season of TV, this is a pilot episode. This is a 10-hour pilot.
Yeah, it kind of is. It really, really is, with the amount that it, like, jumps around, and it's so much establishing the Civil War, basically. That it is an establishing shot spread into an entire season.
I really think this is the definition of season 1 walks so the rest of the series can run. Like, I really think people are going to like the rest of the series because we won't get any time jumps, at least as far as I know. Or if we do, they won't be as, like, stark and contrasting. We should get more action. It should be more interesting, more compelling. Like, it should be better.
I do have a feeling we will look back on season 1 more kindly than we were in the minute. But that sucks when you're in the minute. That sucks when the expectation is so high and it's the Game of Thrones that you have to watch. Like, that's a tough sell.
Yeah. Okay, so House of the Dragon, some things, behind the scenes content. What did Daniel or Danae have to say about the movie? Or the show?
It's almost like it was written to trigger Danae and to really piss her off, because there is so much childbirth. There's so much really traumatizing stuff on screen that we just know our friend Danae does not want or need to watch or have in her life. But all had the same feelings, just walking everywhere, and darkness. And I remember the really stark thing that stood out was you're still not getting the lighting right. Like, how are you making these incredible scenes and then burying them in darkness as if we won't notice it's because you can cover up a ton of sins by using darkness? Right? It's weird that isn't where they're spending the money.
Well, but there's even a good, it's in one of the 2 videos this week, but there's even, like, the narrator starts to sin the darkness, but when they go down into the dragon cave, but then the dragon breathes fire, and it's like, oh, but the contrast, so, like, I guess I've got to take a sin off, and whatever, here's a sin anyway, so it negates it.
It actually happens in both episodes. It happens in this one when Aegon goes to find the dragon, and then it happens in the next one when Aegon goes to find Vhagar. So it's darkness, and then both dragons just light up. And it is beautiful. The problem is, in the next episode, they forget to turn the dark back on. because that dragon fire disappears and it's still perfectly lit. So it's like, well, what are we doing here, guys? Because the sun didn't come up that quickly. So it's just odd choices. It's like they have a vision in their head and we're going to get to it and you will all have to pay a sacrifice in order to get here. And I didn't consent to that. But I know Danae in particular, where we were watching The Rings of Power, pretty much parallel to this. And she loved Rings of Power so much that whenever House of the Dragon came on, it was just a really harsh comparison to that's the show I want, not this. So it is interesting that they came out side by side, and just the difference in narrative quality is pretty huge.
Sure. I have a question. For my fellow Aaron, there was a sin about our name. Actually, I guess not for Aaron, because Aaron wasn't a writer on this.
Nope.
Who hates our name? Also, what does the second A even do? Because you brought up the question. Now I got to know, what does the second A even do? And this one is for Dice, I guess. Does he hate being called Aaron as much as I do?
So I asked this question specifically to the team. I had a list of questions for BTS.
Mm-hmm.
And my question was, in House of the Dragon, the Princess and the Queen, you sin the name Aaron. Who hates Aaron and why? And I can only assume that the list was so long, nobody had time to put it together, because that was the only question I didn't get a response to.
Oh.
So if I had an instinct, I would say it was... Man, it could have been Danae or Daniel, because Danae has known Aaron long enough to know that won't offend him and that he'll laugh along with it. And Daniel's humor is dry enough that I think he would do it regardless and just enjoy it. But yeah, I don't have a specific answer, but it is a dumb name.
Look, I agree. I really don't like the name. It's fine. I also don't feel like I look like an Aaron. I don't know what I look like though. So
Desmond.
I would take that.
Yeah,
all right.
Desmond's a solid name.
Yeah.
I mean, did Aaron really annoy you? Did you get that a lot at school?
I hate it.
Oh man, that sucks.
I was in high school when that came out. And of course that was like the peak of viral videos before viral videos became TikTok and all that. Like this was peak like YouTube viral. It's just one of those things I can't quite pin why it makes me so mad. I think it's because even though I don't really like the name Aaron, it still is the name I was given. And when you call me Aaron, you're mocking my name, right?
I've always thought the same. So when a little nitpick I have, and it happens with Danae's name, like she has an accent on the E. Whenever I see an email, it's like the E is missing, and I'm like, you couldn't take 2 seconds to type a key that is slightly different. Like, and that's somebody's like name. Like that's a really personal thing, and you're showing like a big lack of giving a fuck by not respecting the spelling.
I don't know the key for Danae's thing, so I just copy and paste it from like her whatever email she sends.
Yeah. If you have a number keypad, if you press Alt and 130 at the same time, then you will get the E with the accent.
Alt 130.
Yep.
That's a lot, but again, it's somebody's name, right? So like,
yeah, you go to the effort.
So it's just one of those that I think like it's making a mockery of like my name, and sure, it's not the name I would have chosen for myself, but it's the name I was given. Like, and it was also one of those things like my best friend in high school was named Tim, so like Tomorty from the same video. So we got it. Oh
wow, you got a lot.
And then I went to college, and it transitions, and people like just call you that. And then here's the biggest annoyance of it all. After somebody calls you Aaron, they laugh and they, slap their knee as white people do. But then they ask you if you've seen the video. Like, yes, I've seen the video. Like, do you really think it's 2022? Do you really think I haven't seen this 15-year-old viral video? I saw it as soon as somebody called me Aaron. Like, there's not a chance I didn't see this video. Or
I've been tied down and forced to watch it several times. Of course you have.
Look, it's one of the funniest videos ever. There's no denying that. It's great. Whatever. But it's one of those that like people will also just call you Aaron, and then they'll be like, have you seen the video? And I'm like, hey, also I don't like being called that. So if you could refrain from doing that in the future, that'd be great. Like, you didn't know, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But then they still do it, and they're like, they know it's a trigger, and it's like
being deliberately triggered, that's a sign of a good friendship. Like passing water, open container liquids over your friends' keyboards.
Like assigning House of the Dragons to Danae.
Yes.
Or assigning vomiting videos to you.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And there's some of that in bloody Game of Thrones as well.
That was my question. I have more. I guess maybe TV-Sins is getting a petting zoo soon. Am I invited? Like, I'm not staff, but like, can I come to the petting zoo?
So I did note that. No, because we've hit our quota on people with stupid names. So we already have one Aaron. We can't have two at the petting zoo. There was
If I was named anything else, I could
anything
make
else. Desmond, you're allowed in. You're fine. But Aaron, no.
Sad.
I do know that the Chuck E. Cheese sin. I asked
Mhm.
people, like, did anybody actually work at Chuck E. Cheese? And is that from memory? And Danae replied, like, nope, never worked at Chuck E. Cheese. Daniel was like, I have never worked at Chuck E. Cheese. That is just made up out of whole cloth. But I imagine that is somebody's story. Somebody in the world,
Yeah,
that is their story. I absolutely guarantee it. Poor
I
bastards.
did have a follow up to that. Ian, maybe you can help me answer this.
Hmm.
So the narrator just confirmed that he worked at Chuck E. Cheese at some point.
Hmm.
What does that say about the narrator? Is it maybe why he's so callous and the sin, as always, is kids?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think there's multiple factors. There's some things we may never know. I do actually think it would be incredible if the characters of the narrators had biographies. If they
Mhm.
published their own books explaining why they are the way that they are. I think that would be with the origins of the sins as they see it. Not the real world origins, but why kids in specific gets to them, why Skip happens. Yeah, I think that would be pretty fun.
I would love to see Jeremy's next book be from the narrator's perspective.
Yeah, it
I
would
think
be
that would
really
be
fun.
really fun. Yeah.
Really, really super fun.
I
Yeah.
think every past Chuck E. Cheese worker is like the narrator to some point.
Some part of them they get carried on.
Yep.
The other question I noticed you had was about there's a sin about doing foreshadowing and referencing a
Mhm.
burnt teddy bear in the swimming pool is the only way to do real foreshadowing. Do you not know that reference?
So I put, is this a real example or is one of our writers just too good at their job? I think I know the reference now because I saw your notes, but I would have not known.
So that's, as far as I know, that's a reference to the bear in the swimming pool from Breaking Bad, which is like one of the greatest bits of like cold open foreshadowing throughout a season ever. So just to shame you, Mr. TV pop culture guru, for not knowing a Breaking Bad reference.
It's been 10 years since I've seen Breaking Bad, and
For everyone else as well.
I watched it once and thought it was fine.
Get out of here.
The other thing I had is just nature is the thing of mysterious works. Viserys tries to pull nature, how does it work? As if he's talking about something truly mysterious like magnets, and then there's a photo of the Insane Clown Posse. And I love that. It was a nice touch. Add it to the supercuts, by the way.
Yeah, it's wild how that has come to be a thing. Like the how does it work? That was just a little throwaway sin that like we chucked in every now and again. I think me and Daniel were doing it quite a bit. And then we mentioned it a lot on BTS, and it's just evolved into this monster that can be applied to anything. It is the universal. Just in fact, this morning we had a glitch with a spreadsheet, and Aaron just said, "Bit rates, how do they work?" And it applies to everything, just everything.
It really does. But I also like wanted to point it out because in Discord there was some people that were like, "Why was there a photo of a clown for a split second in the middle of the video?"
Oh man, that's gonna
And-
freak you out if you don't know why.
You ready to move on to Lightyear?
Let's do it.
Lightyear, Aaron and Danae writing on this one.
Mm.
Ian, do you like this movie?
I am yet to watch this movie.
Okay,
I've seen the Sins video, so I feel like I have watched it.
sure. You probably have, yeah.
Like the feedback is, I was pumped to see this movie because I think the idea of showing the movie or showing the backstory of one of the toys from Toy Story is awesome. That's great. I want a Western with Woody, but all of the feedback was immediately, man, this is depressing as sin. Like, I expect heart from my Pixar movies, but I don't expect wishing that Toy Story didn't exist.
There is a scene that really brings the emotion, and in the Sins video, there wasn't even a sin off for it because it was just, you're trying to make me feel these emotions, but this is stupid and that's stupid and that's stupid. It's like, all right, fine. Narrator's a callous old bitch. I think this is the most forgettable movie of 2022 so far. Like, I saw it in theaters opening weekend, and I was excited to see it, even though it had middling reviews. And it's one of those that, like, I could tell you 3 things that happened in the movie probably, and they're all involving Socks the cat. Like,
Yeah.
so
Seems the feedback is the cute sidekick saves the day, kind of.
man, there's a nugget of a really interesting like Star Trek movie in here.
Time dilation's always fun. Anything with time travel, I'm there for it. But
Yeah, I'll spoil it because like it's the video, right? So
Hmm.
like there's a plot reveal where a certain character is Buzz in the future, but he's like a more calloused version of our current Buzz, or he's just like if our Buzz keeps on thinking the same way that he has been thinking, and so he kind of has to like change so he doesn't become that person. If that's not already a Star Trek thing, like that would be an incredible. Maybe that's Star Trek 4. You know?
No, we're not going to start talking about Star Trek 4. Stop it. Oh, we lost.
It just seems like that's such a great idea, and it's just kind of lost in this mediocre movie that doesn't handle it terribly well.
Yeah.
It's okay. I got a couple DMs on Twitter for this. So Davis Dunkelberger wanted to know, who did the October Sky I Don't Want Your Life outtake?
So apparently that's actually Varsity Blues, not October Sky. And that was from Aaron, and he just said it seemed perfect for Buzz trying to convince other Buzz.
I haven't seen Varsity, but October Sky is a damn fine movie. So
I haven't seen either. I have to add those onto my ever growing list.
October Sky's great. Although anytime there's like the I Don't Want Your Life, I think of X-Men Days of Future Past, where he's like, I don't want your future. And it's like, that's so good.
Yeah. Let's
see. I also got another DM on Twitter for this one, same guy. How many socks white noise outtakes were cut?
Many. many.
Can I tell you my favorite white noise joke?
Oh, please do.
I've seen this on TikTok a couple times. So the setup for the joke is they just moved in together or whatever, and they're like, hey, do you mind if I play some white noise while I sleep? And then they're like, yeah, sure. And then the lights go off, and then some like noise starts playing. That's not, like actual white noise we described it. My favorite one is that scenario happens and the lights turn off, and then the intro theme to Friends comes on.
Oh, it's the worst. Oh man, that sucks. My favorite would be the goats, just doing the screaming goats. Like that's your white noise that you fall asleep to.
Some of the things that you had from Danae or Aaron, or anything that you had or whatever.
So the Lightyear counter. So this was the living droid counter.
Yes.
That was from Danae. I loved that. It was like a premature sentencing screen as well. It's like, where are the other two droids? So good. Her thoughts on that was this started out as my being annoyed with the inconsistencies of how many droids were deployed to follow Lightyear. There were 10 that were told to deploy, but only 6 shown the next shot, then 8. This discrepancy made me pay close attention to how many there were from shot to shot, which led to me realizing that by the end of the sequence, there should be more surviving droids. I thought about writing something more straightforward, but after reworking it for a while, the length of it seemed it could be bland. This led me to write a sin that could carry the audience in 2 ways. The first was a fun story playing as a normal sin, and the second is to bring in the secondary counter calculation happening on screen. I enjoyed reading people's reactions to this. Having to go back to watch something and comprehend it and still like it by the end is a huge compliment in my opinion. So she was saying that some of the comments were like, I had to rewatch that several times to make sure that it all added up, because it is a bit abstract that we're saying the wrong amount is deployed and then the right amount, but then the wrong amount is killed. But it's a lot of fun, and she's right. Like sometimes you can have these big, epic, long, multi-sentence, paragraph-long scenes that you get lost by the end of it. So overlaying an extra rub to what's visually on screen is really important to think about. And yeah, it's hilarious. It's so good.
Well, and it's one of those that, like, I love the, like, this is setting up a proposed sequel for this one. I should have guessed it was Danae, because this seems like something straight out of a D&D campaign. Like, there's still one surviving droid out there, and so now it's got its revenge hell set on Buzz for killing all of its friends. Like, yeah.
There's your story hook.
I want to see that a lot more than I do the rest of this movie. Like,
so true. We both really, I mean, everybody on the team loved the bonus round for this one. And I I was there when she was writing it, and she said she was nearly done with the script. And then like 2 hours later, she's still writing. And I'm like, are you okay? Like, what happened? And she was like, I'm just cataloging all of the times buttons are being pressed. And I'm like, okay, like, how long is that taking? And she's like, there's a lot of buttons, and there's way more than I ever thought. And the fact that you go through all of the button pushings, it accelerates and it still goes on forever, is so great. Like, this movie is all button pushing. Yeah, her thoughts on that was, once upon a time I counted up all of the bullet shots in Romancing the Stone. The bonus round would have been an assault on the senses, so we decided to cut it, even though I had pinpointed every timestamp and tried to calculate and count every bullet sound. This was the second most involved bonus round that I have attempted. There are so many instances of buttons being pushed in this film, and I don't understand why the animators needed to reuse animation so many times. It was absolutely hilarious to watch it come to life. I was worried that it would be too long, so decided to go back and find the times when the shift was used and ramp up the speed. The editor on this was absolutely incredible, and it turned out better than I could have ever imagined. Yeah, it's gives me the chuckles. It's a good
It was
one.
glorious. The Operation Thunderspear was A, the original name for the Free Britney movement, B, Marvel's codename for their unannounced Jasper Daniels Thor team up, and C, a spicy Albanian cola drink, or D, the only way I could get my college girlfriends through the gates of the fabled city of O. Were there any alternate titles for Operation Thunderspear?
As far as I know, that's all of them. I think that was a lot of work to get to the college girlfriend joke, and it is totally worth the journey.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think that was, I love those ones. Like, you get free license to just come up with the most batshit stuff you can think of.
It's a lot of work to get to the O, is what you're saying? But it pays off really well?
Nice. I had no idea I was even doing that, which is also the title of my sex tape.
Oh, nice. This was really fun because the sin is sleeping to any other noise than light rain. We are not taking second opinions, and I have disabled YouTube comments about this sin. And it's just one of those where Aaron mentioned it on the podcast last, and so I was like waiting for this sin to show up, and it finally did.
Oh, nice.
So those of you that listen every week, here's the payoff for a sin that was referred to a couple weeks ago.
Amazing. This is the one.
That'll take us to Wednesday's video, Rick and Morty. Did you guys not do season 4 yet?
No, we still had episodes outstanding.
Oh.
So in the sudden gap that Rick and Morty took, the sudden hiatus they took for season 6, we decided to backfill with some Rick and Morty stuff that we hadn't finished yet, but we're very, very close. I think there's only 3 or 4 episodes left to do before we've done every single Rick and Morty.
Aaron and Daniel writing on this script.
Mm-hmm.
I just had one note. The sin is to all of those who growed out and grabbed all the Yasika Insta handles. All I have to say is that your commitment to mimicry and parody of this character has been underwhelming. This sin is on your hands. I just want to know who did the research and what were the observations that you made.
So Daniel did the research on that one, and he did actually search Instagram for the Yasika handles, and he said there actually weren't very many, but and one of them was just pictures of a funeral.
What?
And I was like, really? Like, is that like, okay, you got the handle, and then apparently just put up pictures from a funeral. You do you. That's fine. And the others were just very unimaginative. They were just like regular things. So I think they were very happy with the handle, and aren't making brilliant use of it in the narrator's observation.
That's amazing.
That's really funny.
I have to find this funeral one now.
So yeah, I did check a few Insta handles that were closest to being exactly what was in the episode. 1 or 2 just had the funeral post, and the others were just other stills from the show. Oh, okay. I misread that. So it's literally just the funeral post from Rick and Morty, not pictures from a funeral. So this is why you reread your notes, Ian, because that was a hilarious misconception.
Well, here, now we put it on the world that somebody could create an Instagram account that just says Yasika.
Well, someone's going to do it now.
And it's just pictures of a funeral. And it'll be written into the next Rick and Morty episode. And...
Without a doubt. I'm waiting for them to start a podcast where they sin their own show. But yeah, no, I think they did a great job on the video, and the no notes.
That'll take us to Thursday's video, Star Trek 6.
Yes.
Is it the Undiscovered Country? That's the name for this one?
Yes, Undiscovered Country.
This is not the last time we'll talk about Star Trek today, by the way.
Ooh.
Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. Surprisingly, Ian, not on the script, or Danae. Neither of the Captain's Pod people on this.
So, around about the time that we sinned this, we had Jeremy on Captain's Pod, because Star Trek 6 was fresh in his mind. We wanted to review it. This was the first original series movie. Actually, yeah, the original series movie that Danae watched. The very final original series crew. Like, that's her first introduction to the Star Trek movies, which is so great. So we had a lot of explaining to do, but Jeremy's review of that is so fun. So we could have both written on it. I could have written on it probably without having watched it again. But yeah, I was the reviewer, so it did pass my eyes before it went on and got approved.
Not going to surprise you to know, because I think I mentioned it before. The only Star Trek things I've ever seen have been the Kelvin timeline and Lower Deck Season 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Lower Decks. I would like to see the future seasons. I just haven't done it. It's just such a back catalog at this point. Kind of like Doctor Who. Like, I don't think I will ever watch Doctor Who because there's so much.
There's so much, and it's so varying quality as well. But Star Trek is worth the back catalogue.
I am
Do it.
more likely to watch the Star Trek stuff. At the very least, probably all I would do would be the original series, Next Generation, and the movies. And then that would be.
That's good. Yeah, you cover the bases there.
Your thoughts on Star Trek 6? Your brief thoughts?
Oh, I love this movie. I love it. Of course I do. I love it. It has some of the best lines, like some of the best line deliveries in probably any of the Star Trek movies, when like Spock and Kirk are arguing about the Klingons and Spock is like, "Sir, they will die." And like Shatner just delivers this vitriolic, "Let them die." And it's so good. Like when Shatner is being directed properly, he can be really, really good and really, really passionate. Just don't let him direct himself or anyone else.
Yeah, like in Miss Congeniality. He's great.
I have not seen that movie, but I will assume you're being facetious.
He's playing William Shatner.
Oh, fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. I hope he's significantly over the top.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great storyline. It's such an interesting way to round out the original series movies as well, because it has a theme. It's a murder mystery, political thriller film instead of a straight up sci-fi thing. So it's really interesting that this is how Nicholas Meyer decided to like right the ship after the bonkersness of The Final Frontier. It was like, we are fortunately getting one more movie. This is how we're going to send it off. And it's fantastic. It's so good. Christopher Plummer just nails every single line delivery. So good.
Jeremy's notes. This is my favorite Trek film of all of them. So I thought that was a bold take because I had always heard even numbered are great, odd numbered terrible.
Mm-hmm. That's fair for the original series, yeah.
Yeah, like for at least that's general rule of thumb. I just always thought that Wrath of Khan was everybody's favorite.
It is, but in the last like kind of 10 to 15 years, I think it's going through that thing where it's everyone's answer, so you have to pick another one.
So yeah, so your favorite Star Wars can't be Empire; it has to be something different,
Exactly,
right?
yeah. But I genuinely am on Jeremy's side here. I love Wrath of Khan, but I will reach for the Undiscovered Country more often because for me, it's a more engaging story. Like Wrath of Khan is great, but it is a very standard good guy, bad guy. Like there's way more mystery and intrigue and layers to the Undiscovered Country.
Well, you are not alone, you and Jeremy, because Star Trek 6, Jonathan's notes, this is my favorite Star Trek film. Now, he said Star Trek film. Jeremy said, this is my favorite Trek film of all of them. I don't know that either of those implies TNG movies and Kelvin Timeline and all that. So
I can tell you that for Jeremy, it would be close between that and 2009, the first of the Kelvin movies. For Jonathan, that will be his favorite of all of them because he hates the TNG movies. I don't think he likes any of them.
Yeah, nobody talks about the TNG.
I will!
My favorite is Star Trek Beyond. I love Star Trek Beyond.
It's great. It's excellent. It really is.
Let's see. More notes from Jeremy. It is the most complete while still somehow totally misusing some key cast members. But we wrote this at least 4 months ago, so I'm struggling to remember it very well. I know we hammered the prison planet's wavering coldness.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we send Spock basically mind-violating Kim Cattrall's Vulcan character.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we send the sudden super anti-Klingon racist Kirk.
Yeah.
And the film's reliance on Shakespeare's quotes would weigh down a lesser movie, but here they buoy it even to further greatness.
Yeah. I mean, coming out of Christopher Plummer's mouth as well, like, it's genius to cast him as a Klingon that is still very English. Like, it's so great. It's so clever.
Jonathan says, I enjoy working on these movies that I love. It makes finding sins a little more challenging sometimes when we spend anywhere from 8 to 12 hours on these films, probably more than that. So it's better when it's a movie you like. I love that we gave Nicholas Meyer a send-off. I hadn't really thought about how he had to come in twice and right the ship, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
And he pulled it off marvelously both times. So he directed Wrath of Khan as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he consulted on 3 and 4. 5, I don't think he had anything to do with it.
It's also really interesting to take a step back and look at the central conflict and realize how ridiculous it is that one planet or moon being compromised could even take down the entire Klingon Empire. That is some poor fucking planet on your part of the species. And also the idea that the Enterprise is out there after having been called back a few times by themselves, and no other ships are sent out to assist or investigate what is going on is so ridiculous. This is supposed to be one of the biggest steps for the Federation has ever taken, so they're going to rely on one crew to take care of everything. A crew that consists primarily of people that should be retired.
Yeah.
Still love the movie, obviously, but it wasn't that hard to sin. And we, of course, made a joke about the movie ripping off the Klingon ship explosion from Generations, which came out 3 years later. And, of course, somebody thought they were calling us out on it, which happens every time we do a joke like this. Jonathan's gotten a little bit of nitpicking the nitpickers going on. He's like, yes, that's the joke.
It's one of those that's so obvious. How do you not realize that we're joking? Because if we're wrong and you think that we're not deliberately wrong, that means that you think that we think Undiscovered Country came out after Generations. Do you honestly think that we think that's the case?
Yeah. I have one question about this film. The narrator finally gets to sing Land Down Under.
Yes.
And he mentions that he's always wanted to sing in a video. So what other songs are on Jeremy's wish list of would like to sing in a video?
So the biggest one, top of the list, and this may only happen if we sin Star... No, wait, we did sin Star Trek Beyond. But anyway, it's Sabotage by the Beastie Boys. He wants to do that. Can't stand it.
I can't believe that's not already in somewhere.
Yeah, you'd think it would be.
But now that it's out there, like you're going to think about it and you're going to write it into something.
This was in a public channel. The entire team. So the specific line that Jeremy wanted, yeah, I'd love to sing some Beastie Boys sometime. What you see you might not get. So I think that's one of the lines from one of the verses of Sabotage. So that will probably be in the next script that all of us write, and you'll see it in 6 videos back to back.
That's fun. I thought that was a really fun question. I was like, if he really wanted to do this, what else does he have in the canon?
What else would he sing?
Especially because it also has to be something he hasn't sang before. So you can't do Skyfall or like I'm sure there has to be It's Raining Men somewhere. Like it's already been written.
I don't know that there has been. My favorite one that I forced on him was Earth Song by Michael Jackson. And it was in the Fantastic Beasts movie. Because when, I can't remember any of the characters' names, but like the world is falling around him. And he kind of looks a bit like Michael Jackson, like the bad guy. It was so perfect.
That's all I had. So feel free to talk about all the other stuff that you have for this movie.
Oh, I just had some nitpicking the nitpickers of the nitpickers. Lots and lots of people highlighted that Spock says that when you're faced with a problem and all of the logical answers have been dismissed, the only one that remains, no matter how illogical, has to be the truth. And we misnamed that as Occam's razor instead of the Arthur Conan Doyle Sherlock Holmes quote, which was a boo-boo. I should have spotted that, because Occam's razor is the simplest answer is usually the correct one, rather than overcomplicating things. So if you hear hooves, it's probably a horse. Don't assume it's a zebra. So yeah, I didn't misname it, but none of us caught that. And it's just annoying because then you have 50 people in the comments that take great joy in telling you, did you not realize that was a Sherlock Holmes quote and not Occam's razor? Of course, I knew that, but
that's a green card, right?
That's green. Oh, yeah? No, that's green. The commenter is green. Yeah. Commenter is green on that one. And this was another. I didn't go into this deliberately trying to get nitpicking the nitpickers, but I have ended up doing so. A lot of the comments were coming at us for sinning the unnecessary blood that is pooling at the head of the assassin. Now, they sin us because we didn't mention that the fact that it's red blood shows that this is a human and not a Klingon. And the only reason we know that this is a human in a Klingon disguise is because it's in a deleted scene and mentioned in the director's commentary. So I'm like, you can't have a pop at us for missing something that isn't in the fucking movie.
Well, so is that not canon that Klingons don't have red blood, except for in the deleted scene?
So just in this movie, Klingons have pink blood. That's it. It's in no other movie. It's nowhere at all. And it was purely because the assassin ends up having red blood because he's a human disguised as a Klingon. But they delete that scene, so there's no need for it at all. It's been retconned to say that only royal Klingons have pink blood, but even that's been ignored completely. So yeah, it's just funny to ding us for not sinning something that isn't in the movie. And it's just that wasn't even the thing that we're sinning. We're sinning the fact that it was a gratuitous amount of blood and we didn't need to see it. But obviously the reason it's in there is to prove that he's human. But it's funny to sin us for something we shouldn't be acknowledging, because you shouldn't be sinning deleted scenes.
Sure.
Although we
because
have.
the deleted scene isn't in the video, right? Like it's deleted for
It's
a
not.
reason. So
It's not in the film. It's not in the video. It's not in the version that we watched. Therefore, we shouldn't be sinning it.
Yeah, that would be a
Just-
whole separate channel, deleted sins or deleted sins.
Well, what's hilarious is that we have in this franchise done that, because in the Wrath of Khan, Scotty
Don't give him ammo, Ian. Don't give him ammo.
Scotty comes to the bridge with an engineer that's dying, and Scotty is crying, and we're just like, don't act like that's your nephew or whatever, because there's a deleted scene that establishes the dead engineer is Scotty's nephew. That's why he's so passionate about this engineer that died. So we'll do it when we want, okay? Yeah, that was all I had for the Undiscovered Country, other than I love that movie. It's so good.
Nice. Last normal video of, because we still have a recent to do, of week 1 is the Daniel Craig Belvedere vodka. Let's see. Jonathan wrote on this one. He says, this was a commercial that had a lot of articles written about it, so it seemed like a no-brainer to tackle it. I love seeing Daniel Craig having a lot of fun with this fall, with this commercial and the Knives Out sequel. Those last few Bond films, he just looked pissed off all the time, and I love that Taika can't really help but put himself in the commercial that he's directing. So that was an easy sin to make. It's a really fun commercial. Trying to stay away from the music was less difficult than I thought. And Daniel Craig doing whatever that dance he did on the elevator is something that once you see, you just can't unsee it. And then I asked about the Epcot story, and he said, I already told Ian the Epcot story, which factors into this video. So let's hear the Epcot story.
Well, the Epcot story is real to a point. He did have a pair of shoes that smelled so bad it made the rental car reek. He washed them twice to no avail and had to go buy new shoes in Florida and throw those out. However, they did eventually get the smell out of the car. So that was the exaggeration, was that it wasn't a permanent foot funk that was in the Ford F word. Damn it, nearly had an F. Is there an F? Is there a Ford that begins with a Ford F-150? There we go. I don't think he rented a Ford F-150.
Focus?
Focus. Damn it, Ford Focus. That's right there.
Yeah.
The foot funk in the Ford Focus was not forever.
I like to think it resurfaced at some point.
Oh yeah, when the next people picked up the car, they moved one of the mats over, and Jonathan's feet just hit them. It's possible. That's what I choose to believe as well.
Yeah, it's just like Ultron, where there's one that is still out there, and he's just like, haha, now I'm gonna go replicate and still be as powerful. Like
Exactly. You heard it here first. Jonathan Watkins' feet are Ultron.
Daniel Craig is the new arch nemesis of commercial sins, according to this video. So who is the arch nemesis for cinema sins and TV sins?
So I didn't get an answer for CinemaSins, but I would guess that it is most likely, I'm going to say specifically, whichever character Thingy plays in Uncharted, not Tom Holland.
Mark Wahlberg,
whatever his character is, he's going to be the arch nemesis. Yeah, because I know that he specifically pissed off the narrator a lot. So I'm choosing this week, the enemy of the week is him.
Okay. I like the enemy of the week.
Yeah, but for TV sins, it's definitely Rick. Because Rick does all of our work for us, and it makes our job harder when he's already sinning his own show.
Yeah, that's fair. I thought you were going to say the writers are Rick, which also works, but Rick is probably better.
Rick is definitely channeling the writers, for sure.
Yeah. Cool, there you go. You have the arch nemesis of the week for CinemaSins and
there's
of
so
all
many.
time for commercial and TV sins. All right, that'll take us into the resyn video for week 1, The Amazing Spider-Man. Jeremy and Jonathan again. Lots of stuff from them this week. Do you want to hear Jeremy or Jonathan's thoughts first?
Jeremy
has to say, it was fun revisiting this one. There were moments I wanted to pay homage from the original video, like Mother Hubbard, and you don't need to stop traffic for Spider-Man, but for the most part, these are entirely new observations, or at least new spins on previous observations. The movie is just goofy enough to give a sin writer plenty of fodder, but sincere enough to pull some heartstrings here and there. The best thing about this movie is the Garfield Spider-Man films is his chemistry with Emma Stone.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. What do you think about these movies? Well, the first one, because we'll get to the second one in a bit.
What, The Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm on record as it's my favourite Spider-Man films. Garfield is my favourite Spider-Man. I like both of them. I always understand the dislike, because like what you like and dislike what you dislike, that's fine. But I really enjoy them. They're long. They're very, very long for what they are. But for me, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, even and I'm going to say it, even the second one, are tricky watches now because they are pretty cheesy and overly sincere. And I think so many superhero tropes have been pulled from them that it's hard to not watch it and think it's tropey, which is harsh because it invented the tropes. But yeah, the Garfield ones feel fresh, and I think they just suffered from coming too quickly after the Maguire ones, which totally makes sense. But yeah, I really dig these movies. I love the spy undercurrent thing of his parents were spies and that added
It was
level
different,
of
right?
complexity. Yeah, I'm glad it was
Like,
different.
Yeah. Points for different.
Mm-hmm.
Ian, we're going to piss a lot of people off because I also love these movies.
Yes! Get it!
And I also think that the Tobey Maguire movies don't hold up quite as well. The first one is because the CGI doesn't hold up from the first movie. And I like Spider-Man 2, but I never saw it as the goated one that everybody else thinks it is.
Yeah. No, me neither.
And I think Spider-Man 3 is fine. Yeah. It's not good, but it's not bad.
I don't think it's as bad as everyone thinks either.
Right, yeah, it's fine. Everybody says it's terrible. It's fine.
Everyone ragged on it so hard at the time.
It's probably the worst Spider-Man movie made, but like, it's still not terrible. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, I know Far From Home is up there.
Okay, so here's where we're going to disagree, because I think Far From Home is my favorite
live-action interesting
Spider-Man movie. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I love it. Especially the last 5 minutes, which MCU Phase 4 got a Phase 4, just completely ignores the last 5 minutes in No Way Home. But
completely. Totally redundant. Yeah.
But yeah, I really like, especially because, like, man, you think of Mysterio as a character, and you're like, how does that translate to film? And then they do it. I'm like, oh, all right, cool.
Mysterio is great. I just don't like the movie he's in.
That's fair. Look, you're allowed to. That's okay. I
could be wrong.
I still think that's my favorite. We're going to agree on the Garfield stuff, though. That's what we're talking about.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So, no, I love Garfield. I think he's great. And there's the they even give a sin off for it in this video. And to me, it's the perfect reason why. First of all, Andrew Garfield is the best actor of the three to play Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame he doesn't already have an Oscar. He'll get there someday, I'm sure.
Agreed. Yep.
And he better get some Emmy nomination for Under the Banner of Heaven this year. So
I need to watch that show. I've heard it's good.
Mm-hmm. But it's the kind of whimsical nature of the trolly nature of this Spider-Man, because there's the one where he he's got the guy after he does the breaking into the car, and then he does that fake sneeze, and he winds up like webbing him in the balls as he does it. Like, that is one of my favorite scenes out of any of the Spider-Man movies.
Mm.
I think that pretty much everything about this movie works, especially their chemistry. It's undeniable that Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield have great chemistry in these two movies. Definitely more than Tobey and Kristen. And not to say that they didn't, but like, Andrew and Emma are like Ryan and Emma levels, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone levels.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're really, really good.
Yeah, I saw it in a theater and I really liked it, and I own the 4Ks. I think it's a great movie. So shut up, haters. This is also, I think, maybe the first time that I saw like truly great acting in a superhero movie. Like, say all you want about like Wolverine, but he was not a good actor in the movies until Days of Future Past.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Mm-hmm.
This movie came out a couple years after Iron Man and The Dark Knight, so never mind. I take that back. Because both Robert Downey Jr. and
man.
But either way, like, this is.
It feels like it came out in 2008. It doesn't feel like it came out as late as it did.
It does, but yeah. Either way, they're all great. Jonathan says, I hadn't seen this movie since the theater, and I recalled having a lot of fun with it, even though I really wanted to see Raimi's Spider-Man 4, and still do. Me too, by the way. Especially if he gets Malkovich's Vulture, which was the original plan.
Oh, that's fun.
It didn't hold up as well as I would like it to. Garfield and Stone's chemistry is off the charts, and they make the movie worth watching all on their own. I think Sally Field and Dennis Leary give really nice supporting performances. The CG on the lizard looks pretty terrible now, and maybe it did then, I just don't recall. And it's beyond ridiculous that Peter doesn't suspect Connors from the start, especially after he had that conversation with him and knows that he's using reptile DNA to cure incurable diseases. Also, the knowledge of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 while watching this film doesn't do it any favors. I loved Jeremy's obsession with the Branzino.
Yeah.
I wrote nothing from me, just a great video that I enjoyed. I didn't have anything that like sparked questions.
Yeah,
or whatever.
no, it's a great video, and doing these recent videos has been an absolute honor and a pleasure to do them, to dip back into the archives and give these movies the proper sins treatment. It was like one of my top questions when I joined was in the back of my mind, like, are we going to be able to do that someday? And it's a perfect opportunity to do it. It's super duper duper fun. And I've done Prometheus has come out.
Prometheus was the week before.
Super duper fun to do that. Yeah, and This was the first CinemaSins video I ever watched. The Amazing Spider-Man. Managed to catch
The very first video.
the very first one when just caught it on a article from BuzzFeed, I think, or something like that. Yeah, no, it's really, really fun video.
The very first one I watched was The Dark Knight Rises, which was, I think, the second or third video.
Yeah, that'll be early on. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, not really. I'm sorry, but I didn't get any DMs, and I didn't think of anything that was worth
No,
asking.
no,
So.
I think that's everything.
Oh, this is fun. You'll be on the recent video for next week.
Oh, fun.
So that's the other one. Because I was checking the schedule just to make sure I didn't miss anyone. So you're on the one that is currently scheduled for a couple days from now.
Yeah.
And Prometheus. So Monday's video, House of the Dragon. That's the thing. I didn't write down it's episode 7. I didn't write down the title. Whatever. Ian and Danae on this one. Danae working on this one again. We already talked about House of the Dragon, our thoughts on it. So I just had one question from this video, and there was a point where it's so dark and there's really not much that happens, and so it's just like the narrator's like, I'm gonna fill you in. Darkness, he's horny, she's not. Like lots of very quick goes through like 15-20 minutes of the episode in
this is the sea, this is the beach.
Spark Notes fashion. Yeah. This is a beach. These people just had sex on the beach and aren't picking sand out of their crotch. Like
yeah. He's annoying. She doesn't care.
Yeah, I just want to know who decided that, and that because that's brilliant.
That was all Danae. That was inspired by being fed up of sinning the same thing. So one of the good things that Game of Thrones does is that it does get us out of a rut. So because we end up sinning, walking in darkness and poor plotting and whatever, we're forced to be imaginative and creative with it so that we're not just, for our own sanity, we're not just creating the same old stuff every single video. So she was like, wouldn't it be fun if the narrator just tried to help everybody out? But because he can't see it as well, his help isn't very helpful. So the arrows are all in the wrong direction. They're all like spinning around and pointing at the wrong thing, which is just, it's hilarious to me. She came up with it and just did a little Danae diatribe of, here's what I see, and then let the arrows do the funny work as well. So yeah, it's really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's all I had. Did you have any other things?
No, just this episode was annoying we pretty much talked about it earlier. It was annoying to watch because it was so dark. Me and Aaron watched it on his big TV. He's got it optimized, and we still couldn't see a thing. The day for night stuff, as soon as that kicked in, it was like, what are we watching here? And it's just, it doesn't matter if you're watching this in a theater, at home, on your phone, it's nearly unwatchable. It's really tough.
Tuesday's video, Willow. Ian, we're semi-close in age. This is a nostalgia film for me. Is it for you?
No, totally missed Willow. I have never watched it to this day. So yeah, it totally went under my radar. I love Warwick Davis. Yeah. Yeah, love him. 2 pieces. He's great. But just never watched the movie.
I remember seeing it as a kid. I don't remember anything about it. I haven't seen it anytime recently, and honestly, I don't really plan to, because I feel like this movie would be great for kids, but terrible for everybody else. I mean, I think the Sins video even calls it out. This is like way watered down Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't necessarily remember this movie fondly either. Like, I think it's even more my older brother's like nostalgia, because he's 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
And so I'm 95, so he was born in 90. Like, it's kind of more his.
That's fair.
Nostalgia pick. I was just around a couple times it was on, so I like the people in the movie, but especially after seeing the Sins video, I'm like, I have zero desire to see the full film.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear Jeremy or Jonathan's notes first?
Jonathan.
They are the writers.
Let's do it.
Jonathan this time. Okay. Jesus Christ, this movie. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid and remember next to nothing about it. I don't even recall if I liked it as a kid. I definitely don't like it as a adult. Its biggest issue is that Willow is kind of an asshole. He's not a very likable protagonist. I remembered Val Kilmer's character being a lot more asshole-ish, and I think he's supposed to be. But Willow is so unpleasant that you almost wish that Val Kilmer's character was the main hero. He definitely helps out a lot more than Willow does, at least initially, and Willow's sudden ability to be an amazing sorcerer isn't developed well, so it's not believable. Plus, he's using a fucking parlor trick to save the day. I did want to mention that the Quaker Oats tie-in was totally true, and that knowledge came after I was trying to figure out if McDonald's or another fast food restaurant had a tie-in, which I couldn't find any info on, but Chris found this article and shared it with me where I discovered the Quaker Oats tie-in, and I think that made the sin work a little better than if it had been McDonald's or Burger King. Yeah.
Amazing.
Also worth pointing out, this video came out because Willow is getting a limited series on Disney Plus.
Yes,
that is going to launch soon. So like that's, if you were curious why, that's why. And I probably would have checked out the movie to see the series, but again, like after seeing this, like I have no interest in the movie or the series. So
yeah, I probably won't either, just because I haven't got a connection to the movie.
sure. Jeremy says, look, Willow is a terrible, terrible movie. Folks love it and defend it, but that's a pure nostalgia talking. This movie is objectively awful. It makes no sense. It changes the rules often, and it's annoying. I don't care what anyone says. I think Willow is one of the worst movies I've seen. It's a fantasy movie making, but done by fourth graders who only know that some folks should be super tiny and there should be a queen and a baby. I hate this movie.
Oh man, that's fascinating.
Warwick Davis is an amazing person and actor, but this movie is all the balls.
That's amazing. He needs to watch Return to Oz because that's worse than this movie.
I have heard.
I haven't even seen Willow, and I know that Return to Oz is the worst movie.
Same as The Amazing Spider-Man. I loved kind of watching the narrators rip this movie to shreds. Narrator, there's one. Or watching the writers rip this movie to shreds. It, again, just seems so stupid. And not watching it in full context either, like that. You know. But I don't have anything that I wanted to prod about.
No further notes from me. Love the video.
No notes. But I did mention just a good time, you know, because like, no notes, but like, because we're not writing down sins we really like this week. No notes. Wednesday's video, Rick and Morty 4x2. We're on this week, by the way. Stuff. That's week. The Old Man and the Seat. I really like this episode.
I love this episode. It's so good. It's so relatable.
You and Jonathan writing on this?
Yes.
I just have one question.
Mm-hmm.
You really hate Jerry, don't you?
Yes, I do. It's my favorite thing. I now want to put together a supercut of everything that we've seen about Jerry. All of the insults, all of the mean things. It's now like the meaner we get, the funnier it is. Like
it is.
There are some people in the comments that aren't quite on board because like, hey, what's with the Jerry hate? But he is everything that's wrong with haphazard, accidental fathers, parents, whatever, just well-meaning but not present and not in the room, like doing what he thinks is right and that gives him an easy life but doesn't actually give a second of forethought into the future about what this means for everybody else. And it's that lack of forward thinking and empathy for other people that gets me and pisses me off so much. And he's meant to be like that. That is his character. We are not sinning the show for that. We are sinning that this person exists and that we all need to be less like Jerry. So I will compare him to, what was it, like the primordial smegma that the universe decided to give sentience.
That was when I wrote down this because I was like, you just called Jerry smegma. Like, that's like,
hey, with
man,
sentience.
That's a low blow.
Smegma with sentience. Yeah, and it's just, he fucks up every single plan and he just wants this pity high five and that fucks them up as well. And I just loved in the outtakes putting the Billy Madison quote and just like, aiming that at Jerry. Like, nothing you said makes any sense or has any merit, and we are all worse off for you being here. So yeah, I do not like Jerry. Yeah,
the Jerry hate was strong in this video. Yeah. And again, you're right. The more you do it, the funnier it is. So I'll encourage you hating on Jerry. Because you're right. He kind of is supposed to be that. I'll let you finish, and then I have some notes from Jonathan.
So, sinning Summer for complaining about Beth not knowing what Sumai Tai meant with like the whole abbreviation thing. I wrote an entire sin that was like 4 or 5 lines long and all in abbreviations where I just used the first 2 letters. But it was gibberish. Like, it was too much. Like, it was criticizing Summer for not abbreviating properly and just got really complicated. So we just ended up using the end of it, which was all's key. Also kids, but abbreviated. Yeah. But yeah, it was, we kind of just talked about it and was like, this could be funny, but it's also could just get completely lost.
Fair.
The other thing I loved from the comments was the amount of people that were pissed off that we ended on 69 sins until the sin removal dropped a deuce and moved it to 67. I was like, I didn't realize people would be so passionate about missing out on 69 sins.
Look, it's the same thing as when you're watching the DVD idle screen and it's getting close to the corner, right? Like,
it
it's
doesn't
the same
exactly hit the corner.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jonathan says, I think longtime BTS listeners probably know that I'm really uncomfortable with, let's say, toilet or bathroom humor, and this episode is literally about a toilet, so I did not find it watching this a pleasant experience. I don't think I was originally on this either, but agreed to take it, not knowing what it was about. But I survived. I had a lot of fun writing the script with Ian. I love Ian's sin about let's take a look at the villain's plan. I don't know if that's a skill, but Ian is always able to break down a villain's plan in an interesting and funny way and turn it into a great skill.
Yeah.
Sin, we'll call it a skill.
Yeah, I'll take that as a skill.
And Ian sins about the sandwich and his use of the word turd putter were both disgusting and uncomfortable for me to read, and I laughed so hard I was crying. I really don't want to think about this episode anymore.
No. Yeah, I polled the crew because I didn't want to use pooping once, and I didn't want to use poop, going to the bathroom, whatever. So I said, send me all of your analogies. And I included
And Aaron
all of
sent
them
40 and everybody else sent 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sinking the Bismarck was my favorite one that I'm going to continue using. And the Hershey squirts came from Danae.
Mm-hmm. I've just always liked taking the Browns to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's just iconic. I'd explain that to my wife one time. I was like, so the Browns are a football team.
Yes.
And the Super Bowl is the championship.
Yep.
She's like, yeah, what do you you're not playing Madden on the Xbox right now. I'm like,
nope.
I'm going to the bowl
with the Browns.
With the Browns.
Yeah. My ass. It's amazing.
On that note, let's move on to Top Gun Maverick. Thursday's
video. Let's do it.
You and Daniel are writing on this one.
Yeah. So this is the first video where I've written on the sequel for a video where I worked on the original. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think you and Daniel both, right?
Yeah, me and Daniel both did the original Top Gun. It was our 3rd or 4th script that we ever wrote before either of us were full-time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was a big one. Top Gun had like 5 writers on it. So Maverick felt like understaffed by only having 2 of us on it. It was really funny. But Maverick's my favorite film of this year, I think, unless something bizarre happens.
It's 2 for me.
It's incredible. It's just a fantastic action movie with a great story. I had to stop myself watching the movie to sin it because I would just get 10 minutes would have gone by and I've just been watching the movie with some popcorn. I'm like, oh shit, I'm at work. I need to actually I actually have a job to do here. It didn't mean that it wasn't easy to sin though. This is the biggest, most detailed debate that I've ever had of a movie. So me, Chris, and Daniel all got our heads together to work out if this mission was actually the only way that it could be done, because they're very emphatic that this has to be done in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It has to be done this way. It has to be done with this many pilots, and it has to be done in this sequence of events. And we were like, are we missing something here? Because the sequence of events is they fire the Tomahawk missiles, which starts the timer. The timer is how long it will take the ships, the pilots that are at the airbase to get to them and intercept them. And then they have that amount of time to get through the valley, blow up the enrichment plant, and then get out of there. The problem is, if you're sending the Tomahawk missiles to blow up the airbase, that 2-minute timer doesn't matter. Also, if the missiles is what sets off the 2-minute timer, just don't send the missiles. But either way, the only thing that you're worried about are the pilots that are already in the air, and you don't know where they are. The only way this plan makes sense is if you know that the pilots are hovering above the airbase, which means firing the missiles at the airbase won't matter because they're already in the air. And B, you can't know that they're already 2 minutes and 30 seconds away. They're either already in the valley or so far away that it doesn't matter. To get to that stage of all of us agreeing that the Tomahawk missiles don't make sense, the timer doesn't make sense, you don't need 6 pilots either. Send 12. Why, if this is so hard, why not send 24 ships? Or, hey, here's an idea, send an unmanned drone to do it.
That drone cut to Ed Harris was hilarious.
His eyebrow turning around, drones! All of that discussion took hours. It was an entire afternoon where we looked up videos of the different maneuvers, and it was an undertaking. But I think now, as of recording this, it hasn't hit the channel yet, so I haven't looked. No comments exist, so we are in Schrodinger's Top Gun at the minute.
Yeah, it's hit for Patreon. It's hit for patrons, but I think it'll go
Exactly.
public very soon.
Probably as we're recording, so I'll be interested
Probably.
to see what the comments are on this one. But yeah, it was really fun to talk this out and make sure that we were like understanding the good guys' plan in this case and making sure it didn't make sense in the ways that we thought. And there are 3 sins that we cut where it was just too complicated, too argumentative, and we trimmed it down to here's the gist of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, really fun.
I love this movie. It's my second favorite movie of the year. I just adore Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's good.
But it's almost a shame because like I feel like Top Gun Maverick should have been number 1 on my list at some point, but because EEAOA came out first.
Great movie.
It never was. It's just sat at number 2 for the entirety of the year.
Didn't even get a token placement.
No. I love it. I think it looks gorgeous. It's one of those like I saw it only once in the theaters. I think a lot of people were watching it, and I wanted to go back. I just couldn't find the time, and I realized that's weird because it was in theaters for so long. But like, I have so much to catch up on this year, and then also doing this and my other podcast and all that. So
I saw it on my own for reasons. I can't remember if I was on Sif Pop for it. I can't remember, but I definitely watched it on my own. And then I'll rarely see a film twice. But I just said to my dad, you have to watch this movie. Watch Top Gun tonight again to refresh yourself. And then we're going to go and see it tomorrow morning. And saw it with mum and dad.
Yeah.
And just had the best time. Like, it was just to see them enjoy it so much as well. Like, it hits the nostalgia, but it manages to be its own movie. This is a good movie if you've never seen Top Gun.
Yeah.
And that's a neat trick.
Yeah, and me and my wife watched Top Gun before seeing it too. Top Gun's a bad movie, but Maverick is an excellent movie.
Top Gun's a fine movie. It's dated as heck, but it's fine.
My favorite sin, just because it sums up my feeling of the original Top Gun, was the nobody's taking my breath away in this scene.
Yeah.
Because that song plays more than Danger Zone. Why do we associate Danger Zone more with Top Gun? Anyway,
it's insane. That is based. Top Gun is an extended music video for that song. It's wild.
The thing I had to mention, the question I had was just how much research went into planes and Navy terms, because like they like don't shy away about using like terms and like they just like mention a plane and you're like, okay, it's the one that they're in, it looks different, like and then there was also the sin about like the Boeing 700 whatever, and it's like, for those of you that weren't alive in the 80s, like
so
don't Google it.
The thing that annoyed me the most in this movie is the cliche of it's not the plane, it's the pilot. I was like, it's the fucking plane as well. It's both.
Yeah.
If you go and I just kept coming up with these examples, but I needed them to be like realistic. So I was like, if you go up there in a paper plane, you're going to get shot down. If you go up there in something from Wacky Races, you're going to get shot down. If you go up there in a Ford Focus, you're going to get shot down. It is
in a stinky-footed Ford Focus.
Exactly. It is the plane as much, if not more, than it is the damn pilot. Like, do not undersell that. So I just found like the most extreme example, because like a biplane was the first example of like you're not going to outmaneuver a 5th generation fighter or an F-13 or whatever. And then I was like, well, what if you went up there in the Boeing 747? And I was like, well, the 747 is pretty beefy. Maybe it would hang in for a little while. But then I accidentally found out about the 737-200, which is on record as being the most unreliable passenger plane ever. And for anybody that is flight averse, like I said in the video, avert your ears now. But this thing, and I didn't include this percentage because it's really, really scary. But it is, I think, it has a 1% chance of crashing. So for every 100 that went up, one of them crashed.
Yeah, and like that 1% is still a pretty okay rate, but like
no, 1% is terrible. Like for flying,
like 1% doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot.
Considering how many flights there are every single day, like that percentage shouldn't register at all.
What's incredible is all you have to do is Google Boeing 737-200. And the first is the Wikipedia article, and the first subheading is list of accidents and incidents.
It's terrible. Like, this thing killed people. Like, and it was in the 60s, so we're fine. We're 60 years removed. We've learned some lessons. But yeah, you have a 1 in 100 chance of not coming back as soon as you step onto that flight. It's not good. That's not a good percentage for flying. That's bad odds. So yeah, and it's that kind of research. I never would have found out about the the 737-200 had I not written on this movie. So it was a great example. I loved it.
Yeah. One thing that I thought was really interesting, not seeing this video yet, and forgetting that it was coming out, I was watching just some YouTube with my wife, and we came across 2 other channels parody of this, how it should have ended in pitch meetings, and it was just really funny because like both of them really hammered hard the 5th generation pilots thing, and how it's like, so they both do it in their own way, and then and of course it was like nice to see. Like, I don't remember it being an issue in the movie, but I don't remember them saying anything. But I don't remember them saying 5th generation pilots that much. Like,
I hit it harder, so I wrote another sin. We did keep it in there. It was like so fithing much. It just reminds me of what I'm not supposed to be thinking about. And we nearly cut it because I can't remember, but somebody was like, "Oh, it didn't really bug me that much. I figured that's just what they're called." And I'm like, it was so distracting to me. It's like, they have a name, and the only reason you can't say it is because you don't want to piss off the Chinese. That is it. You want the Chinese market, so you're just gonna say iPod 5 or whatever, like some generic thing instead of whatever it actually is. So super distracting.
Yeah, and you couldn't even make up a country, like.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why I loved I see what the movie is trying to do by not rushing us into any assumptions about who the bad guy is.
I love like those behind the scenes stories, things like that. Like the Red Dawn film that was like shelved and then released in 2012.
Yeah.
Like the original bad guys was supposed to be China, and the original bad guys are Russians, but it was supposed to be China. But then like, because of political tensions and they wanted China's box office, they like changed everything to North Korea in post.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, the other thing was, and then one of the channels really harped on like the plan, and they were like, "Oh, you're doing a Star Wars, like."
Yeah, you're doing a Rogue One.
They're doing a Death Star run because it's like it's a trench run, and they're like, yeah, and then at the end, Rooster has to, he doesn't have his auto targeting system, so he has to do it like regular. It's like, it was just really funny. But it was also like refreshing because like that's easy fruit, right? But like, I think there was maybe one reference of how it's like kind of like the Death Star run, but that was it.
Yeah, we did Top Gun Rogue One or a Star Wars Story Maverick One or something like that.
Something like that. But it was nice because I think all 3 of the videos just played really well together and just kind of showed like unique talents of each of the 3 channels, so, and unique voices. So that was great. I don't have anything else. Do you?
No, that was it for Maverick.
Cool. One more commercial scenes video too. Tovalla Secret Weapon Stories. This was hilarious.
So good.
Borderline
Rage.
My favorite video of the week because just it's nobody does rage better than Chris.
His angry voice is one of my favorite things on Prometheus. Was his rage during that video was so good.
Yeah. So the only thing I have is who wrote this and why did they pick this commercial?
Well, Jeremy wrote this, and I remember I miss pretty much all of these commercials because I don't watch TV. I'm like nicer in that.
I don't know this one.
I haven't seen this one. It's why I stick to the Old Spice commercials when I'm sinning for ComSins because I know them. But yeah, Jeremy popped into one of our Slack channels and just said, "Fuck this commercial! It's a fucking scam. I'm going to write this commercial right now." Immediately wrote it, emailed it to Jonathan. Chris narrated it, and it was on the channel like that week. When Jeremy gets pissed about a commercial, he gets pissed. It's so good. So his words exactly were, "The Tovalla is a scam. It's a meal kit service that requires you to buy a proprietary oven. Then you pay $13 per meal to let this proprietary oven heat up your food. And the commercials do not suggest you do anything with your newfound free time except stand there watching the oven and boast about how you aren't doing anything right now. I hate it." So yeah, I think it's one of those things where how does the entire world not see this as a scam? Like, you shouldn't be advertising because you're going to be exposed for being a huge, big scam where you're sucked into this world. But yeah, it angered him.
The more that the narrator went on, I was just like, yeah, that is stupid because they're like, you have to buy this oven to make exclusively these things. You can't make other things, exclusively these things, and it costs like a pretty large amount, especially compared to something like HelloFresh and I think HelloFresh is a sponsor, but like, I don't know, I don't do sponsorship or whatever. So
yes, HelloFresh does sponsor the show. There is a good chance that in this show there is a HelloFresh ad.
Yeah. So, but like either way, like that's like they give you everything you need, right? But this is like even the video points out it's like you didn't put the salad in the oven, so like, did they
Yeah.
literally just send you like a 5-ounce steak like that?
Uh-huh.
Like, and that's stupid. Why would you pay $13 for that? It's probably not even good cut. Like, anyway, but and then all the like, look at this shelf. What are we gonna put up here? That new like microwave toaster oven thing that we got? No, how about this giant gravy pot? And then we'll put the microwave on the counter.
Yeah.
Yes, nobody does rage better than Chris, and yeah, it makes so much sense that Jeremy was fueled by this. It's
Yeah. It is definitely a
Man.
great Jeremy Chris combo.
for sure great. That's all I had. One last video to talk about the Amazing Spider-Man 2 recent. Ian, you said you like this movie. I love this movie.
Yeah.
I wrote an article on SifPop that was essentially defending this movie. It's, hey, here's a movie that everybody hates that I love.
Yeah.
And it was like either right before or right after No Way Home came out. I want to say right after. And because I think I made a reference like saying, look, I know a lot of people have come around on the Garfield movies recently, especially they've come around on Garfield himself. But I'm telling you, I've felt this way since 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I love this movie. Look, it has its problems, right? There's too much going on. The Green Goblin stuff should have been pushed to the third movie. Or if they want to like have him convert to the Green Goblin and then just be the villain for the third movie, fine.
Yeah. That's the only thing I would cut out is the Green Goblin stuff. Just make this an Electro movie.
It's obvious they're trying to set up Sinister Six for the next movie.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work, like, because they were trying to do in 2 movies what Marvel did in 6. They were the DCU before the DCU.
Yeah.
This movie is frustrating in that regard, but the and the narrator points out that the Captain Stacy stuff is one of the things they would cut. Like, it's not in the movie enough for me to care.
Yeah. That's fair.
So
Yeah,
I
get
like
that.
Electro as a villain. I mean, he is the most yada yada, but like,
Fell into eels.
how do you turn that into how do you turn him into a legit? I mean, I guess No Way Home did a pretty okay job. Like, he just harnesses electricity. He's not living electricity. But like,
But I think the effects were great. The score is great.
the score is my favorite superhero score ever.
Yeah.
Period. I love the score with
so
Hans
good.
Zimmer and Junkie XL.
Junkie
no,
XL.
that's DC. Is
No,
it?
no,
It's definitely Hans
I'm
Zimmer.
sure Junkie XL was in this.
The Spider-Man theme that's at the beginning and end of this movie, like, is just, it gets me going.
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer and the Magnificent Six with Pharrell Williams and Johnny Marr.
Oh, interesting.
So
Good shit.
either way, like, this is my favorite score for a superhero movie. I love it. The chemistry is still there. It's pretty unbelievable that they're still in high school, but whatever. Like,
Yeah, that's always going to be the case. That everyone looks too old.
and I thought like Gwen Stacy's death was perfect.
It's beautiful. And you know what? It's worth it just for the redemption in No Way Home as well.
Absolutely.
That, like, Garfield catching
Mhm.
MJ. Oh, man, that got me. That got me right in the moment.
It's just gorgeous with like the way that it's structured, like the slow-mo. And like, look, we all knew it was coming because they showed it in the trailer, but we were like, are they going to have the balls to actually do it? And then
Mhm.
they do. And it's not like in the comics, Gwen Stacy just dies of whiplash. But like, when you hear the thud,
Oh, man.
it gets me a chill on my spine every single time.
The thud and crack is uncomfortable. It is one of those. I can't believe they showed us that.
Well, and again, it's something straight out of a horror movie. Like,
It is, yeah.
But it's, yeah, in the comics, she doesn't smack the floor, but, you know, her neck gets whipped back so fast it breaks it and kills her.
Mm.
But in this one, like, that thud is devastating.
And I think the thud is deliberate because if it's just a neck snap, then Spider-Man kills her. Like,
Yeah.
his webbing kills her. Like, he didn't do it right, but the thud just means that he wasn't there in time. Like, he could have saved her, but wasn't quite quick enough.
Yeah, that's oh man, that's a really good comparison. But almost, I'm more interested in the rabbit hole, like, that happens.
Mm.
Like, if he has to wrestle with the fact that he killed her.
Yeah.
I mean, she was going to die anyway, right? He did his best, but like,
Yes.
she died of his causes, not, you know, becoming a puddle on the floor.
Yeah.
And that's why also in No Way Home, man, I'm clinging. There's a little hope that we're getting an Amazing Spider-Man 3. Like,
There is.
Like, I'm clinging to it because there's a little throwaway line in No Way Home where he just says, like, I went through it down a dark path, and like, I want to see that. I want to see
that so much. Yeah, he
this
got rageful.
unhinged.
I want to see rageful Spider-Man. Because
Uh-huh.
the insinuation is that he kept killing people.
Yeah. I really, really, really want to see them continue making Garfield movies as well.
Yeah. Totally. I'm here for it.
Chris and Jeremy writing on this. I don't have notes from Chris, but I do have notes from Jeremy. He says, okay, this video we made years ago, and it was only available to Patreon members for years and years. I don't remember shit. I looked up the script, and we hammered the opening scene that is all about his missing father's backstory. There's a Rubber Neo joke in here. We made those for a few years, but fell off for some reason. It's a joke that fits whenever a film's CGI is too ambitious, and the action looks rubbery and not real. There's a joke about how Spider-Man is always rescuing people from fires. This is a funny video. And he says, I'm still so proud of this sin. I think it's time to let this go. This wasn't an overdub or AR work. This is a voicemail Emma Stone left for the studio after she read the script. Unfortunately, she was under contract. Meanwhile, you don't even want to know about the voicemails left for the studio by Shailene Woodley. And then he notes the reason that sin is Shailene Woodley was in the movie as Mary Jane, and they cut her out entirely. And if I recall, Felicity Jones as Black Cat. I think she
cut out
she
as
gets
well.
like 12 seconds as like a secretary. Yeah, great sin, Jeremy. Yeah, I know, and I know we pissed a lot of people off by like we both like this movie, and we are the minority.
Deal with it. We know. Let us like what we like.
Yep. What do you have?
No, no additional notes. Just really, really love the video. It's really, like I said, it's really fun to go back and re-sin these. I am glad I did not write on this video because I would have been too kind.
Me too.
And I know that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have given sins off for the score.
Score is so good. I'm gonna
I would have given
as I make
sins
dinner.
off for her death. I would have given sins off for Garfield's performance. Like,
it's like when we what did I sin? It was I gave 2 sin removals for the other one for the Final Frontier. It's a terrible movie. It's a terrible Star Trek movie, and yet I still ended up with 3 sin removals. And Jonathan was like, "Stop it! Stop it! This is not getting sin removals."
Yeah. Also, this is my favorite looking Spider-Man suit.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, I love the white eyes. I mean, it's essentially the same suit with a little bit more blue from the first one, and then there's some white eyes. And so I'm really excited because, like, at the end of No Way Home, Spider-Man gets a new suit, and it's got more of the blue because it was just red and black in the first 2 movies. And so it's like a lot more Amazing Spider-Man like themed. I'm like,
I think it's the best. Totally,
it looks great. But yeah, this suit in Amazing Spider-Man 2 is my favorite.
Yeah.
I only had one question. Breaking Up in Chinatown was also the original title of Katy Perry's Waking Up in Vegas, the original title of Paris Hilton's sex tape. That's incredible. The original title of the Vince Vaughn, Jennifer Aniston smash hit, The Breakup, or the original title of Chinatown. Any alternates?
Not that I know of. No, I think they threw everything at the wall with that one.
Yeah, and brilliant, all 4 of them.
That's so good.
Yeah, that's all I had. We're done with the content of the week. That'll take us to Behind the Sinner.
So tell me about yourself.
We're all sinners. Every one of us.
And what happens to sinners?
Get to know each other better, you know?
See, Daddy, sinners have soul too.
The information! It's too much!
Walk away, March. Just walk away.
A couple questions to ask you. Round 2 questions. Is there a previously released Sins video that you wish you could have worked on?
2. Back to the Future, any of them. It's my favourite movie of all time. I, therefore, would love to pull it apart. Anything to do with time travel, I want to get to the bottom of. And in the same vein, Deja Vu, which I only missed by a few weeks. So they sinned that just before I was writing scripts and trying out and stuff.
Do you want to sin it because you love it or hate it?
Love it. I love Deja Vu.
Okay, me too. Cool.
I love this movie, but I want to sin it because it has the worst time travel of any film next to Source Code. Because it's just the last 5 minutes of Source Code that break it. But Deja Vu explicitly in great detail sets out its own rules and then fucks them.
Yep.
And because the power of Denzel Washington, he's just like, I believe that this is how it works and therefore it works. He should be dead. It breaks all of its own rules, so it would be so much fun to sin. They did a great job of it. I couldn't have done anything different, but I just would love the satisfaction of sinning the time travel in that movie.
Sure. What's a Sins video that you are glad you didn't have to tackle, or a film that, if it gets scheduled, you hope that you won't be assigned to?
So we're going to try and pick a theme. See if you can guess the theme here. So I have 3 options for videos that I do not want to sin. I really, really don't want to be scheduled for them. So we've got Leprechaun Returns. We have A Nightmare on Elm Street, Wes Craven's New Nightmare from 1994, and Hellraiser 2022. Why do I not want to sin any of those 3 movies?
I mean, look, the common theme is horror, but like these are horror like reboots or requels.
It's close.
Well, you wrote A Nightmare on Elm Street 1994, but then you said New Nightmare, so I was like, okay, yeah. So legacy sequels, or
Specifically, the last in a series of movies where I've only seen one of the movies. So, in little brackets after each one of these in the show notes, Leprechaun, there are 8 movies, and Nightmare on Elm Street, there are 7, Hellraiser, there are 11.
There are 11 Hellraiser movies?
There are 11 Hellraiser movies.
Oh my gosh.
And the only one I've seen is Hellraiser 2022.
Is it worth watching?
The most recent one. No, it's crap. It's
Okay.
Sorry. If you like Hellraiser, you'll probably love it. But if this is like the best of Hellraiser, it's... Do you ever watch The Cube?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's The Cube, but really bad.
I think The Cube was kind of really bad.
I love The Cube. The Cube is great.
It is what it is.
The Cube. It's great.
I was just really excited for Hellraiser because the guy that did The Night House did that, and I think The Night House is one of the best horror films of the last couple of years.
It's for me, this movie was terrible, and I watched it in the best circumstances at a theater in a room filled with horror fans, and I still didn't like it.
Hellraiser was in theaters?
No, only once. So this was for the film festival in Austin. Fantastic Fest.
Got it.
And this was the surprise screening, and me and Aaron just looked at each other, and we felt bad for warming the seats that could have taken posteriors that would have enjoyed it more. Like, this is not for us. Neither of us have seen a Hellraiser film, and I went in there thinking maybe this is my gateway into it, and no, it was not. I did not enjoy it. But the problem with the movies that I mentioned, Leprechaun, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Hellraiser, is that I haven't seen any of the Leprechaun movies. So if I was to see the most recent one, I would have to watch all 7. And that's just a personal thing. I would have to watch all 10 Hellraiser films, all 7 Leprechaun films, and A Nightmare on Elm Street, because I want to be a completionist. I want to be able to sin them from a place of knowledge.
And not only that, but there was the Halloween video recently, even like... It is so helpful to have the previous Halloween, the uncanonized versions for this new trilogy, like 2 through Resurrection. It is so helpful to have all of that information. So in the same vein, like, and even if Hellraiser is a reboot and New Nightmare is a meta sequel, either way, like,
I would have to watch all of the others. The only exception is Scream. So I got put on Scream 4. And I hadn't seen any of the Scream movies, but I knew that Jonathan was a super fan. So on that occasion, and he was the lead writer, so I deliberately didn't watch the other movies so that I came in as the arsehole narrator that hasn't watched anything, is completely ignorant, and is just sinning it from a place of stupidity, so that we got the balance of the super fan and the ignorant person.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was the lead on any of those scripts, damn it, you've just consigned me to watching all of these other movies. So this has happened on another occasion where I've been given a movie to sin and I hadn't seen the rest of them, and it meant me watching 4 movies and then sinning the next one, and it broke me. It's fine. Yeah. It's cool. It's fun. But I know that I now have to spend 10 hours of watching content before I can start sinning.
Before you can start watching the thing that you have to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd be the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, have a quick game for you. 3 sins and a lie. Joseph's been creating these. I have one. You don't get a choice. Everybody has had a choice so far. You don't get one.
Sweet.
Because I was told that I have to save this one for you specifically.
Interesting. Okay.
You had the search for Spock.
Oh, yes.
That's why I said we're not gonna... Indeed. We're going to come up with Star Trek later.
I did not write this one because this came out before I joined the team.
I'm sure that was intentional.
I'm sure.
Because it's cheating if you wrote on it. So the way this works is that I have 4 sins. One of them is a lie. So one of them is one that Joseph wrote. The other 3 of them are in the sins video. You have to try to guess the one that is fake, the one that Joseph created.
Yeah.
So got to get the sins team in the win column this week, Ian. I believe in you.
I'm really good at this game, though. I do currently hold the record for having the highest score on this game, so we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, the search for Spock. Here we go. Sin number 1. Sarek is getting more free homemade porn right now with green aliens than I ever will. Sin number 2. Okay, I'm not an expert on war decommissioning or anything for that matter, but wouldn't Starfleet have disabled the weapons of the Enterprise almost immediately? What if one of those photon torpedoes went off inside the starbase when school children were visiting? Won't anyone think of the children? Number 3. If the movie is directed by Spock, then that takes away all the fun of trying to find Spock. And sin number 4. Enterprise wreckage just tells me that they'll find a way to rebuild this ship for the next movie, which is about whales, by the way.
Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty certain that 2 and 4 are actual sins. I remember the 4th one, definitely. Watch that be the fake. So it's 1 or 3. Read 3 again.
If the movie is directed by Spock, then that takes all the fun out of trying to find Spock.
Number 1 is the fake.
Sarek is getting more free homemade porn right now than Green Aliens than I ever will.
Yeah.
2 was the fake sin. The
Oh,
one that you didn't
no!
question.
I dismissed it immediately. Dang
It's
it.
really hard because I'm like trying to cover his smile. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
he didn't.
I'm looking away. That's well done, JCD. Well done.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on warship decommissioning or anything like that matter, but wouldn't Starfleet have disabled the weapons of the Enterprise almost me? It's a good sin. It's
a good sin.
And it makes sense.
I do remember, I thought I remembered a decommissioning sin in there, so I dismissed it. But yes, well done. Got us.
Well, one more thing for this behind the sin round. We have you on, so I thought, what are some fun things that you've noticed you've been living in the UK for a while again.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some more things that maybe you've noticed now that you're back in the UK that you're like, hey, I missed this about America, or yada, yada, yada?
I still miss Chick-fil-A. I miss breakfast options. There are very few like kind of drive-through breakfast options. So like there's tons of drive-throughs where like depending on where I'm working, I'll drive through and pick up some coffees and some nice yummy breakfasts. And we have Starbucks, Costa, and McDonald's, and that's really it for drive-through breakfast. You've really got to go in somewhere, get it, and come out. So I miss the convenience of that for sure.
Because even we have like Taco Bell has breakfast, but like.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in Scotland, we had Costa every morning, but like that we didn't realize that was our only option. Like,
yeah, it pretty much is, and Costa's one of the better options. So you're lucky you had that. Costa's great. However, this time round coming home, Danae and her friend joined us for some touring around the country. So it was interesting. It was their first visits to England, so it was interesting to see some of their comparisons. And I think what shocked them the most was some of the food options that we have here, which is really, really fun. So that neither of them had English pancakes, Marmite, or crumpets. They loved all 3 of them. And now English pancakes are very, very thin. They're more like crepes, but they're not crispy. They're softer. So I had to make pancakes every single morning because they just immediately became addicted to them.
I don't know that I've had any of the 3.
Oh, and crumpets are they're hard to describe. They're like upside down English muffins, but less dense and more sweet and more rubbery, but they're tastier.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And Marmite is like a yeast extract molasses bread spread that you put onto crumpets that is deliciously yummy.
I think I had Marmite, actually.
Yeah, Marmite's super yummy, but it's a love it or hate it sort of thing. It's pretty divisive, but I think the biggest takeaway they had was how different bacon is over here.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't do like the streaky thin bacon. We have like, it's like a medallion of bacon with like a fatty tail on it that's called a rasher. And that's just how we serve our bacon.
It's in patties?
No. It's like it's still really, really thin. So the thickness is the same, but it's more like a kind of like a circular shape with a tail. But yeah, why? Because it's so yummy. You get more meat. You get more meat out of it.
How do you get more meat? Like,
because it's like it's a cut, so you get like a solid circle of bacon and then a fatty tail, but it's still really thin.
So what essentially you're saying we get is just the tail.
You get just the tail, but longer. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's like streak of bacon fat, bacon fat, bacon fat.
Yeah. Okay.
And they loved it.
All right, sure.
Yeah, that was so I think food was the biggest differences that they discovered.
I remember my trips. The thing I can't do burgers that are in the UK.
Interesting.
Because you guys actually have like decent health code regulations, and the FDA is just like
whatever.
Sure, it won't kill you immediately. So
exactly, but don't make any plans after 70.
Yeah, and right. So and then also, I mean, there's just the difference in like in like meat sourcing. Like most of the meat that we get is from like grazed in like our grazing fields, and then like it's different. It's sold halfway across the world, different nutrients, different all that. Again, just different ways of processing meats and seasoning. So like I couldn't do a hamburger over there. Specifically, I ordered at a pub once a blue cheese burger because I
that's
love
so
blue
good.
cheeseburgers.
Yeah,
Like especially like some mushrooms and some blue cheese on a burger. That's great.
that's awesome.
But blue cheese is entirely different. And that was something I wasn't expecting because I was like, I thought blue cheese would be the most universal. It's moldy cheese. Like,
Yeah.
and it wasn't. It was terrible. I hated it.
Oh no, that's a
in my
shame.
burger. It was not quite as like tart or I guess like bitter as
Yeah,
our
'cause
blue
I
cheese
think
is.
we use Stilton for our blue cheeseburgers, and that's super dank. It's like dirt. It's really
Yeah.
good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it didn't really have much flavor. Like it didn't have the pungent flavor that our blue cheese has.
Maybe it was just a bad burger.
Maybe it could have been. I certainly paid good burger prices for it. So
Oh,
maybe
no.
that's the thing. Like if I get a blue cheeseburger, I kind of want it at the place where everything is thrown on the same 5x5 grill.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that was the one I specifically remembered. Like I won't do hamburgers and I won't do blue cheese. Definitely not together.
It's fair.
That just leaves us with Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Ian, what is that one thing that you want to recommend, warn, or reca-warn?
Well, since we did an England tour, I would like to recommend cheddar cheese and cathedrals. So if you ever come to England, I would highly recommend visiting Salisbury Cathedral. So it's 800 years old. It's beautiful. It is a Gothic, the height of like Gothic design. It's so pretty. It's thousands of like hundreds of dead people just like under your feet. It's absolutely beautiful. And the scenery around it is really, really pretty as well. And near to Salisbury is a place called Cheddar Gorge. And this is the origin of cheddar cheese. So the original cheddar cheese was made here and stored in the caves, and you can still buy cheese that is matured inside Cheddar Gorge itself, inside the cave. Goff's Cave, it's called.
Huh.
And we bought 2 pounds of the only authentic cheddar cheese in the world because they don't make much of it actually inside the cave anymore. You can call any old cheese you want cheddar just by using the same recipe, but the only authentic cheddar cheese is actually matured inside Cheddar Gorge, and it was
Does it actually
beautiful.
taste
It's
different?
It's so good. It's so tasty. It is you can ask Danae. It is the best cheddar cheese either of us have ever had. It's good stuff. So yeah, if you ever get a chance, you're in that neck of the woods, visit those 2 places.
I'm looking at pictures of Salisbury Cathedral. It's gorgeous.
It's so pretty. It's stunning.
Yeah. Ian, do you want me to talk about a new release movie that I'm not sure you've seen yet, or a musical that we were talking about beforehand?
Just do the new release. That's fine. There's a good chance I will never see it.
I saw Glass Onion in theaters.
Oh, nice. I will be watching this, but I would love to hear your thoughts.
I love this movie.
Yay!
I'm a Rian Johnson fanboy. I didn't like Brothers Bloom, but I loved everything else that he's done.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think I want to give Brothers Bloom another rewatch. I've only seen it the once. Looper is my number 9 favorite movie of all time.
Looper is so good.
Last Jedi is my 22 favorite movie of all time. And Knives Out is my 6th favorite movie of all time. So
nice.
I was really excited to check this one out. I think Brick is somewhere on my list, just significantly lower.
I haven't seen Brick. Heard good things though.
It is great. So I had high expectations. It's incredible when a movie meets your expectations, if not exceeds them. And it's incredible. Like, man, I love. All right, this movie makes a choice. A movie released in November/December 2019 or 2022. Sorry, 2022. To still take place in May of 2020, and to not ignore the pandemic. And it was one of those things where I thought it was kind of tedious at the beginning, but then I realized how it played into everything, and I thought it was brilliant. I'm not going to spoil anything about your experience, but this movie is different than Knives Out, meaning there are no returning characters except for Benoit Blanc. Like, there's not even a reference to Marta or any of the other people. And in some ways, the movie is better for that, which is almost a shame because I was like, no, I want more Marta and I want more.
I think it had to do that though. Like, it's clearly following like the Poirot murder mystery route of some such. So yeah, it makes sense they wouldn't reference it.
I'm trying to not talk about it, to not ruin your experience in the slightest.
I'll definitely be watching it soon.
I just loved it so much. And there's the final act of this film is glorious in the same way that the final act of Knives Out is, where he starts expositing and he starts putting all the pieces together.
You have to nail that.
It's just as satisfying. although it's significantly simpler. It's nowhere near as complex as Knives Out.
No. Mm-hmm.
It's much more a straightforward murder mystery, but there's no like, you go over here and by the time you come back, I'm going to reveal everything. I mean, there is a little bit of that, but it's nowhere near the complexity of Benoit having to figure out a lot of different things. And so the movie is a little bit more straightforward and foreshadowing. And I want to talk about this movie with you when you see it.
We'll pin it for the next BTS.
Okay, because that's just really what I want to happen. Because I want to talk about specific things, but it is a brand new release, and I don't want to tell anybody anything about this. And I don't think I have.
Nice,
but it's great. It's not quite as good as the first. It's significantly less funny, but it is still funny.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing it even more.
Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Hitting Netflix, I think Christmas Day, if not like December 23rd or something like that. Just watch it as soon as you can. It's great.
I shall.
That'll do it for this week. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. It's nice to have you back and to talk about all the different things, as surely is going to be a longer episode than initially planned, than a normal episode. But that's okay. We covered 2 weeks worth of content.
Yeah, exactly.
Well. Any places you want people to connect with you?
Yeah, find me on Twitter if it's still there, at Whittsend, WHITTSINNED, and Captain's Pod, which is our weekly Star Trek podcast. We are dipping into some Star Trek The Next Generation for the next kind of few weeks, and then I think some more Lower Decks as well before Picard Season 3 comes out in February, and we'll be insta-sinning. But yeah, we have interviews with some Star Trek people as well. Most recently, we did Hemmer, Bruce Horrick, who plays Chief Engineer Hemmer on Strange New Worlds. We had a chat with him, and that was really fun. So yeah, go and see that.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. How long are we going to keep making the on Twitter, if it still exists, joke? Like it's until Elon sells it, right? Like
pretty much, yeah.
Or it implodes.
Yeah, I mean it'll evolve into something else, or it will just stop.
You can follow me on Letterboxd or Twitter at Schweitcastle. If you have feedback on the show, how you think it's going, please send that to email bts@cinemasins.com or DM the CinemaSins BTS Twitter account. That's at CinemaSins BTS. And lastly, don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're listening from, and come on back next Thursday for more Behind the Sins content.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com, and be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
Hi, I'm just watching you.
That's an interesting voice. What do you call that one?
It's specifically for you. It's my Schweitzer scarer. Is what I'm going to call it now.
It worked.
Hi, Aaron. How are you today? Your country won't let me stay for much longer. The 6 months out of the year is already pushing it, apparently.
Who do I need to write?
The president would be great.
All right, Dear Joe.
As number one, yeah. Joey B. That's what I call him.
Dear Joe, please let Ian stay as long as he wants.
He's really nice, and he won't use his creepy voice on you, he promises.
The British haven't been a problem since 1776.
Oh yeah, it was immediate. As soon as the year was out, it was like New Year's Eve 1776. We were done. We're finished. We're ready to be friends.
Yep.
Hey, do you want to help us kill the French? I think that's what did it.
We were just watching the Macy's Day Parade, and look, to be clear, I didn't put it on. We were at my wife's family.
They didn't ask you to organize it this year? Somebody else put it together?
So I have no idea after Amazing Spider-Man 2 what the 10-year reasons are. And I don't even know how many left. It's I think maybe 4 or 5 left. I was thinking the other day too, everything wrong with the comments section.
I can almost guarantee and bet my mortgage that will never happen.
How about this? Patreon exclusive. Everything wrong with YouTube.
Oh no. That's amazing.
There you go. Next Patreon exclusive.
Done.
You heard it here first.
If this makes the outtakes.
So all I have to do is put it into the outtakes, and then that wills it into existence?
Oh no. No, because that would will many other things into existence. Some of them you don't want.
Even when I started this podcast, I wanted to make it closer to 30 or 45 minutes. And that didn't happen. So
we can't even get through the outtakes in 30 to 35 minutes.
Do you do the Twitch?
Yeah, not yet. What was I gonna? I was either gonna do Minecraft or like Age of Empires game and just really tap into the 90s nostalgia. Just try and conquer that audience.
Only if you like go as British as you can.
Oh no,
Like-
I'm not doing that. That's the worst. You're
Look,
right. What
it's
can
just
be a
history,
colonizer
right?
for an hour?
All it is history. You're just
Yeah.
repeating history.
Yeah, that's great. Repeating history. That's exactly the sort of thing we encourage.
Yep, England trying to take over the world.
Yep, I will only play the British Empire, and I will only conquer the weakest people.
And then try the United States and lose.
And then side with the French.
Agree to disagree.
I mean, the fact that of the two people in this room, they both disagree, I think that defines it as a controversy.
Why are all the controversies centered around Christmas? I mean, we got is when is it too early to celebrate Christmas? Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Not a controversy. It is.
It's just the two biggest arguments. 50-50 split. Pineapple on pizza.
That's a way to detect people that should be in prison. That's all.
I like pineapple on pizza.
You should be in prison. Well, your first problem is going to Pizza Hut.
Look, it's the best of the chains, and I will not be taking further questions.
Oh, it just isn't. Okay, anyway, on to the scenes.
I own the Westworld 4K discs because so help me if that drops from 4K ever on streaming.
Oh my goodness,
it would ruin how good it looks.
Hey, do you know what else will ruin how good Westworld looks? Cancelling it.
You ready to move on to Lightyear?
Let's do it.
30 minutes later. What's the Sins video? I'm gonna start that over.
Undo all of that. make a note to get rid of that.
Got to get the Sins team in the win column this week, Ian. I believe in you.
Oh, has everyone been losing?
Yeah.
Oh no. I'm
You
really
just,
good at
You
this
just
game
showed your
mode.
don't listen to BTS.
Yeah, no, I just gave away. I haven't been listening.
If he gets all 7, does he get a job? Is that no?
No.
One more thing for this behind the center. Well, transitions.
Yeah, how do they work?